take these off.
Welcome to Japec Community Life. I'm here with Senator Hayes. Today we're going to discuss Amendment 1 in Florida, and then we're going to talk about why your knowledge should be up to par or learn more about who you vote for. So let's start off with Amendment 1 if it's possible. Let's dive right in there.
Okay, Anthony, let's put it in perspective. Amendment 1 has already passed, and the legislature is going to abide by Amendment 1. There's been a great deal of controversy over how the legislature chose to implement Amendment 1. And it was in the best judgment of the legislature this year, and perhaps next year as well, that we need to devote a tremendous amount of money toward maintenance of the land that we already own. Some people are all up in arms because we didn't spend $300 million toward purchasing more land. And I've not found any person yet, not one person, who voted for that amendment that knew how much land is already under conservation restrictions or ownership in the state of Florida. When in fact, the total land mass of the state of Florida is around 35 million acres. Today, government agencies, state, federal, and local government agency owned land or land that's under conservation easements totals more than 10.4 million acres. So that's almost 33% of the state of Florida is already owned by the government. So before you advocate that the government needs to buy more land, find out how much more land do they need to buy? Okay. And why do they need to buy that land? I'm not opposed to selective purchases of identified properties that have a definitive need to be under public ownership. But to just go out here and wholesale start buying up land at inflated prices is nothing that I'm going to approve of. Okay. And there's one example, and I haven't done the research, but I would expect there's several more examples. But I know one piece of property was 1,300 acres. It was sold in 2005 for $1.3 million. In 2006, the government bought it for $23 million.
So let me ask you this: does anybody go out to actually see what the real cost? Do they have what do you call it? Adjusters come out?
Oh yeah. They have to have appraisals done and all that sort of stuff.
So who does that to raise it up to that price?
The people that were in charge of the money at that time. That was several years ago. Back in 2006 and 2005 and 6 were the dates that was purchased by the in 2005 a private entity bought it. In 2006, they sold it to the state for the $23 million. So what I did this year was I put it in the statute that says before they can buy property again under the Florida Federal Program, they must show a purchase history of that piece of property, so that before the state pays those exorbitant prices for it, they can recognize what's there. And it's just unfortunate. But my whole point is that the voters need to become informed, fully informed.
Now let me ask you this, because this is going to come up, there's no doubt, how we inform. I'm going to try to do something even with the magazine, that I come and visit you, the other senators, find out what's going on so they can get informed. Now if I didn't exist, where would they go to be informed at? How would they go about getting this information to get involved, to support you? I mean, here's the thing. I believe that you're supposed to be senators, congressmen, presidents, supposed to be the best of us. Do you agree?
Well,
I'm saying that's theory. I'm not saying
theoretically.
Theoretically, you're supposed to be the best.
Yeah, I hate to use that term "best." We definitely are chosen to be leaders. Okay. We have that responsibility of leadership.
So we're not going to use the term "best." We will use qualified. Not a good word either.
Well, no, we should be qualified. Absolutely, we should be.
So let's do this. Best decision makers. Can't use that either.
Okay.
Well, great decision makers.
Yeah, good decision.
Good decision makers. Okay. So if you're supposed to be still leads me back. You're supposed to be the best of us, but if you're supposed to be the good decision makers, okay, in this, then why is it that we're still running through the same issues? And you see spending. I've been in Baltimore. I've seen spending done. I've been here where they buy a certain amount of items, but this other guy can get it. But then when it comes to the state, the price go skyrocket. Right. And what you implemented, if you don't, from what I'm getting, is that you want to make sure it shows a history of this product. And if that product doesn't show a history of the amount, then why you skyrocketed it, then we can't do business.
That's exactly right.
That's what you're saying.
That's exactly right.
So now let me ask you this. What do they do if I'm not? Let's say right now we're building this thing so people can be informed. It's like I'm coming to you. When there's an issue, I'm always going to come back to you, or you're going to reach out to me and let me know some different senators dealing with this.
Sure.
Now, if they can't do that to get the facts, straight up rich facts,
Exactly
where do they need to go?
That's
because a lot of people don't even know this is going on.
So, Anthony, what you've done is you've put your finger directly on one of the biggest weaknesses that we have in our process, and that is a lack of a centralized information point. I had to go digging through several state agencies to find out how many acres of land we owned. And I'm sure that the reason I was able to get those numbers as quickly as I was because of my title.
Correct.
If I had been Alan Hayes the citizen, I wouldn't have known where to start, number one. And number two, I might or might not have gotten the information in a timely manner. So that's one of the things that we, I think, as a government need to work on. And we have a tremendous website, and we've spent a great deal of money on it, and we'll continue to spend more money on the transparency of government here in Florida.
Are you saying that it's on the website? It's not?
Yes, but this type of information, it's on there, but you got to know where to go and look for it, how to get to it.
That's exactly why we're doing what we're doing, and I do appreciate you giving me time. Because now we're going to they'll be able to come to a magazine, they'll be able to actually see and hear you speak about it to knowledge. A lot of people are not good in reading. And the terms that legally they use, the words, they done threw them off at the first paragraph, I don't understand it, whatever. And then that's it.
Right.
But I will say this is the second time I'm interviewing him. He has always been straight with me, straight to the point. He has not thrown any punches, not yet. But anyway, let's do this. We're going to move from that subject because I know he's a very busy man and he's seen a lot of clients today. In voting, because this is the biggest issue. 2016, from what I understand, the Republican Party is spending $5 billion on this. Am I correct? Or
I have no idea.
From what I understand, it's $5 billion. It could be $2 to $5 billion. I don't know. What is the thing that you would say to a voter to make sure that he gets what he needs to be looking into before he puts someone in the White House as commander-in-chief?
I would say to
and put aside the parties, put aside this. Let's look at American. Who's going to be the best?
I would say that every conscientious American needs to pay no attention to the party affiliation, but pay great emphasis to the character of the person on whom you're considering voting for. It's what's in the man's heart, what's in the woman's heart, what kind of track record do they have? Don't tell me what you think can be doing later on. Show me what you've done. And then I want to know not only what you want to do, but how do you plan to do that? That how is probably the most frequently ignored question that all of our media, whether it be print media or video media, electronic media, needs to start asking these candidates, how do you propose to do that? And then listen to what they tell you. For instance, I am a 4-year military veteran.
Correct.
I wouldn't know how to run a war today if the commander-in-chief were to call me and say, Alan, you're now the Secretary of Defense and I want you to run this war. What I would do is pick up the phone. I would call the Chief of Staff of each of the branches of armed forces and I would say, listen guys, the President has charged us with accomplishing this goal. You're the experts, go do it. Tell me what tools, what manpower, and what money you need. I'll get it for you, you go do it. And then I'm gonna hush and get out of their way and let them do it.
So let me ask you this question too. That's one stage. Putting the right person to deal with economic growth development in the United States.
That's right.
Each candidate I've seen, both parties. We haven't seen too much from the independent side. I don't know what's going on with that. But the two main parties, they have their slogans. Some slogans go, change is good. Time for a change. Other ones goes, we can make it. And then you even have one that says, make America great again. Now, if I was running, this is just my slogan, it would be bring America back to the promise for the people, because of the people, and by the people. Now, if you was running, I don't know what your future going to hold, because eventually, judging from your personality, we might have to get him in there. But I want you to tell me, if you was running, what would be your slogan? What would be your hit?
If I were running, my slogan would be, let's return to our foundational principles.
Okay.
It was those foundational principles upon which this country became the greatest military power the world has ever known. It became the greatest economic engine this world has ever known. You can look back through the last 50 or 60 years, look back through the last 100 years of history, world history I'm talking about. When tragedy strikes in another country, who's there to rescue?
America.
Absolutely. When Hitler was raging through Europe and Britain was the only country left standing, who came to the rescue?
America. But let me ask you this. Even with the wars that we have went to help out people, do you feel, just straight up, do you feel that we've gotten our recognition and our honor as a country from those that we go to defend? Or if something happened over here, do you feel they will come over here and defend us? I'm just asking that question.
I think that many of them, I know for a fact that many of the Europeans still today have memorial services on the day that certain events happened in World War II, thanking our soldiers. And those Europeans have passed on to the subsequent generations. You should always be grateful for the sacrifices that America made. And you know, one of the things that we dare not overlook is the fact that while the soldiers are the ones who literally put their lives on the line, and they are to be commended for that, behind every soldier on the front, there's at least 20 people behind them that enables them to be there on the front with the proper clothing, the proper ammunition, the proper food, the proper health care, all these things. When Britain was under attack in World War II, the United States Army was less than 200,000 people.
Wow.
Less than 200,000. And some of our soldiers, when they were called up for training in the draft and everything, they literally practiced with sticks because they didn't have rifles. Our industrial complex had to gear up in a massive industrial operation, and they met the challenge. But it was a tremendous effort on many hundreds of thousands of Americans who never wore a uniform. But the role they played was essential to the success of that war. But let's shift away from battle. I mean, unfortunately, in today's world, we've got to look at it. And I don't care who you are, I don't care what church you go to, I don't care what country you come from. But my way of thinking is, when you come to America, you're going to learn to speak English, and you're going to abide by our laws. And if you don't want to do those two things, then don't even bother to come here. Or if you get here and you find you don't want to do those things, then go back where you came from. I'll buy you a ticket, one-way ticket. But that's all there is to it.
Listen, if it's too many, he may have to get
No, I'm serious. I'm serious. Some of these candidates have been talking about sending them back. The others say, "Oh no, you can't send them back." Oh yes, you can. We have unfortunately an inadequate history, but we have a history of repatriating, deporting from this country many people that don't belong here.
And there is a lot of issues. Right now, we have issues more, I think, than any other election I've ever seen. It's normally one or two issues. We've got riots,
Yeah.
We've got police brutality.
Yeah.
Now I interview cops, and you got some really nice, fine cops. And the reason why I'm interviewing them is to show that side now.
That's right.
That side that there are some doing their jobs,
Yeah.
and they're out here. Now they do outnumber the other ones.
Yeah. Oh,
But
by far.
by far. But it shouldn't be this kind of stuff going on. I don't think a lot of stuff should be going on in the HO. I mean, in America.
That's right.
We shouldn't have to ask for our rights. They should already be given. They should already be there.
And that's exactly why I say my campaign theme would be, let's get back to the fundamental principles. Because this country was founded on biblical principles and Judeo-Christian morals and ethics. And until we get back to those principles, we're never going to be great again. And I know it's not politically correct to say that we are going to pray at the city commission meeting. My word is you absolutely should pray. And if you don't like the prayer, if you're offended by a prayer, then don't go. Stay away. But don't try to tell us as Americans that we cannot pray in public.
But
And
it is me being in the media, I'm learning that every other country has its own way of doing things, tradition. They don't change.
Well,
When you
that's
go over
right.
to that country,
That's
they don't change.
That's right.
So you see some now, certain times of the day, they face east. They can be working for you, but they put their mat down and they face east.
Yeah.
Why is it that you feel prayer got taken out of schools? I mean, this is a whole nother subject, but this is
It is indeed.
But we're going to get into that. But why is it that you feel that we can't get it back there? Can we get it back there? Do you need a bunch of churches to join? What do you need to do?
What we need, number one, is we need the masses of America to return to biblical behavior.
Okay.
Too many Americans today are growing up having never ever darkened the door of a church. They've never recited the Lord's Prayer. You ask them what is the Lord's Prayer, they don't even know. And when you and I were kids, you recited the Lord's Prayer every day in school, did you
You
not?
didn't have a choice.
That's right.
And you
And
like
you pledged to the
you
flag
wanted
too. That's
Yeah,
right.
you wanted to.
Absolutely.
So let me do
And
this.
most of us even went to Sunday school on Sunday.
Correct. And
Absolutely.
Bible school. on
Absolutely.
Wednesday.
Absolutely.
So let's get back on the subject. Voting.
Yeah.
Since they must have foreknowledge. Where would they go? You feel they should go to study each candidate, not just news,
That's right.
because sometimes news
gracious,
is
no.
tainted.
Yeah. And
So
don't
where
look
would they
at the
go?
commercials either.
And don't look at the commercials.
Yeah,
Okay.
The commercials are only for that one candidate, or they're negative, which I hate negative commercials, against another candidate.
So where would they go? Was there
What-
some place they can go?
What I would suggest is, number one, Google.
Google.
Just Google the candidate's name and dig into their history. See what they did. Look through if they have served in a legislative body at any time, or if they've been a governor, anything like that. Look at their voting record. On this particular issue, how did they vote here and there? There are some large organizations who put out voter guides, and many times those voter guides can be helpful as well. The key there is make sure that the voter, the publisher of that voting guide is a group with whom you can identify.
He says, let me ask you this question, because I know time is short and you got to roll. If you're going to pick a candidate, almost like you're picking a wife. With me, I pick a woman on personality. I believe, this is just me, I believe that when you're looking for a mate, she should meet you physically and mentally. But mentally first, because after all the looks go, you still got to what?
Well, you ain't kidding.
So if you're going to pick someone to be the head chief, and remember, they're going to bring their entire team with them. That's just the way it is. What do they need to really look at? Should they be well-rounded in foreign policy, economics and growth? Tell me some things that these people need to look for in the chief.
Well,
Not councilman.
No,
chief.
you're talking about in the chief. I'm looking for a man, number one, who, I'm looking for a person. You know, I really don't care if they wear a skirt or not. I'm looking for a leader who will have an even disposition about them, but a person who is very strong in their convictions and their principles. I want a person who has shown leadership skills in the past. I want a person who has shown that they have the fortitude to stand against the crowd when the crowd is not correct. I want a person who believes in the Constitution, a person who will appoint judges who believe following the Constitution and not judicial activism. I want a person who has legal experience, and that doesn't mean only lawyers can apply either. But and there's another key to any good leader: someone who surrounds themselves with subject matter experts and will listen to them. There is no way that any commander-in-chief can know all there is to know. He's got to have subject matter experts in the various fields. And to that end, I want somebody who will choose the right kind of advisors, somebody who has a track record of good, solid leadership, who believes in the biblical principles upon which this country was founded, and who will fight for those principles. Someone who can work with the Congress to make good things happen. I've said so many times that really to be effective in the political arena, one needs to embrace the principle of compromise without compromising their principles.
Okay.
And that means you can give and take. When I'm trying to pass a piece of legislation, I'll reach out to you and say, Anthony, what do you think about this? And then I'm going to listen, because 4 eyes are better than 2.
Correct.
And you can say, well, Alan, why don't you do this? What would happen if we do this? I say, I like that idea. So we change it. That's the kind of compromise that I'm talking about embracing.
Okay, let's do this, because I know there's certain subjects we're going to wind up getting on. Basically, you want them well-rounded. I don't know what the word is. With every subject, at least have some knowledge in it, and then have a bunch of people around. Now, I'm going to ask you some questions. We're dealing with issues. We're dealing with the war. Okay, and how do you feel about that, the way that's going? And then we're dealing with brutality of the police. And then we're dealing with the Social Security issues, the fundamentals of people taking rights away. So I'm going to ask you, you can just run through all of them real quick, but I want to throw that out there and see how you felt about it.
All right. On the war, I think the current commander-in-chief is doing an absolutely abysmal job. I can't think of any way he could mess it up any worse than he already has. The police brutality, it's a total and complete disrespect for authority that needs to be reestablished, starting in the home. Unfortunately, the demise of the American family has led to a whole lot of these problems that we're experiencing today. And when children are allowed to get away with the things that many children are allowed to get away with nowadays, it's unacceptable. And they grow into adults thinking they can get away with it. And this idea of walking down the street and disobeying the orders of a policeman is just wrong.
Well, let's say this, because if we go this way, someone may get confused. Let's open it up even more. I've got articles that show where police officers have done some crazy things. Look at the one where they raped the 14 women. This still, and I don't know whether you've seen those articles, but I have them there, where police have raped 14 women. He just got convicted. I think he's got 32 years.
Good.
He raped 14.
What did he get 32 years for each of the 14?
I think so. Yeah, he got 32. And then you have ones where they just automatically, Texas did what? Planted evidence, and then they admitted that they done it. Now I'm asking you, this kind of behavior, it shouldn't go unpunished. But at the same token, you said a second ago, it starts at the home.
That's right.
And you're correct. Because what he's basically saying, not that these police are correct, it starts home. If they had it at home, when they grow up, maybe, I'm just trying to understand you, you can agree or disagree, they wouldn't be doing the things they're doing.
That's exactly
We
right.
got a few cops that are just doing heinous. How do you have an entire police department that now admits they was corrupt?
Well, those
and
people
planted stuff. That's crazy.
They ought to be punished just like any common criminal. Just because they have a badge on their chest doesn't mean that they are exempt from the law. Their charge is to enforce the law, and they must abide by the law as well.
And this is the thing. I've seen cases where people have, like the ladies who got raped. It was a grandmother who turned the police officer in.
Was it a single police officer that raped 14 different
14 women? He pulled them over. It's in the paper, and I have the article. He pulled them over, and then he made her get in his car and perform oral sex. A grandmother, 59 years old. You should see the article. It was so shameful. I had to turn my head looking at it. I'm wondering now what is going on that we got to worry about this kind of stuff. And it's here.
Well, and Anthony, something's real important too, that we dare not paint all policemen just because of the bad behavior of.
And that's exactly what I'm trying to do now. That's why I'm going out with officers who are good officers. I met Claremont, I've met Groveland, and then that's why I'm here. But I also want to close this down. We want to appreciate Senator Hayes, and as he goes out to fight a battle anywhere, we're going to try to be going with him to see the battles that he's got to fight. Also, as you clean up certain things that you have going on, that you need the community support to support you on.
Okay.
So if there's any last words you can say it, I know you got to roll.
Well, we're doing this just before Christmas, so I hope everyone has a Merry Christmas, and thank you for the opportunity to visit with you today.
All right, thanks a lot.